Hello everyone, I'm JG. Welcome to Music Forever, where today I'm reviewing the first album from legendary thrash metal band Metallica. So I've decided that I'm going to be reviewing all of Metallica's albums just for the heck of it. I'm a huge Metallica fan, so this is going to be fun. Except for when I have to review Saint Anger, that's not going to be fun. But yeah, today we're talking about an actual good Metallica album, Kill 'Em All, which, is just a classic. It's a massive album in heavy metal history, being one of the first albums to appear from the thrash metal genre, kind of laying the groundwork for that genre, which, would later go on to, pave the way for heavier metal genres, such as death metal, black metal, all that kind of stuff. So this album is really important. This being Metallica's first album, and kind of being the first album of its kind, has a very aggressive, a very rough sound to it. The production here isn't, super high quality, but it's in a good way. It matches up with the style of music that they're playing, the very aggressive sort of thrash metal, the kind of punk aesthetic that kind of goes with thrash metal, thrash being a mix of heavy metal styles that came before, like new wave British heavy metal, being mixed with, punk music. So it kind of makes sense that the production isn't super great. However, it's not the kind of bad production that we would see on future Metallica projects, like Injustice for All, or, Saint Anger, as I said before, productions that would hinder those projects' quality. Here, it kind of helps, bring out the atmosphere of the project. You get the feeling that this album was just recorded by 4 really angry dudes in their garage one day. That's just kind of the sound of the production, along with the actual music itself. That's just kind of the vision that it creates for you, and it's perfect in my opinion. Now, I can't talk about Kill 'Em All without bringing up Dave Mustaine's involvement in Metallica and the creation of this project. Now, for those of you unaware, Dave Mustaine, most famous for being the lead guitarist and vocalist for Megadeth, was in Metallica before creating Megadeth. He was the guitarist of the group before Kirk Hammett joined the band, and the reason why I bring this up is because he wrote some of the guitar parts for this album, or at least he wrote the basis for what these guitar parts, the final versions would be based on what he wrote pretty much. And he was kicked out of Metallica for alcohol-related problems, things like that. He started Megadeth afterwards, started the whole Metallica versus Megadeth kind of, rivalry that was going on. And, my opinion on that is that it's just kind of stupid. I honestly think the whole Metallica versus Megadeth argument is stupid. I love both bands. They're two of the bands that got me into heavy metal. So I like both their works almost equally, pretty much, their whole bodies of work. And, Mustaine's involvement in this project, some people don't like the fact that Metallica used, the basis of his work and then, recorded it on their own without his involvement in the project. But, I really don't care here. I think the guitar parts are great on this album. You could definitely tell that Mustaine, at least, he has a very distinct guitar sound, and, these riffs here, at least they sound a bit like he was involved with them. I can definitely tell that. However, that they changed it up, enough that it sounds different. The most notable example of this whole thing is the track for Four Horsemen, which was based on a Mustaine song, Mechanic, which would eventually appear on Megadeth's first album. And, I actually heard that song before hearing the Four Horsemen initially when I was getting back into heavy metal music. I wasn't listening to albums yet, and I just heard that song off by chance, and I really liked it from Megadeth. And then I heard the Four Horsemen by Metallica later on, and I was like, whoa, this sounds weird. It's like a slower version of that track, which is essentially what it is. The verses, of course, just sound like a slower version of Mechanic, or rather, Mechanic sounds like a faster version of the Four Horsemen, depending on, which one comes first. I like the track still. It was just a bit jarring to hear at first after hearing Mechanic first, despite the fact that that track was released after. And of course, they do add some other guitar parts into the Four Horsemen that makes it different from Mechanic. But that's enough talk about that. Let's get into, some of the other things that this album has to offer. And, when I think about Kill 'Em All in terms of Metallica discography, one thing I really think about is the riffs. The riffs on this album are fantastic. Some of the most memorable that you're going to come across. Just overall great. One of the most memorable, in my opinion, is the track Seek and Destroy, which is probably the most popular song from this project. It just has that, the riff is just, iconic pretty much. Also, No Remorse, which, reminds me a lot of the opening song from the first level in Doom, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Some people say that it also sounds like, that song from Doom sounds like Master of Puppets by Metallica. Some people say it sounds like Painkiller by Judas Priest. Though I think it sounds closest to No Remorse from Metallica. And, reminding me of one of my favorite games of all time is never a bad thing. The creators behind the music for Doom obviously had a great taste in music when they decided to, take No Remorse's riff and use it for that song that they put in the game. But No Remorse is definitely my favorite song on this project. Just, the riff is fantastic. I love the aggression of the track. Overall, this is also Metallica's most aggressive album, in my opinion. Just combined with the more raw sound to the crazy sort of riffs, it just has a very aggressive vibe to it. It just sounds like this band is very angry and they're trying to get all their anger out. Throughout this project, James Hetfield's vocals are more rough, more shriek than they are on, later Metallica projects like the Black Album, where he has, clean singing going on. This is definitely his most, rough vocal performance in terms of, at least the sound of his voice. It sounds very aggressive, but it matches nicely with the music. Another one of the more notable tracks is the instrumental track, Anesthesia Pulling Teeth, which is a bass solo track. Cliff Burton just being one of the legendary bassists, in my opinion, one of my favorites of all time. He does a great job with this bass, solo here. All of the first four Metallica albums each have their own instrumentals, and this one definitely stands out for the fact that it's a bass solo. It's a really cool, interesting thing to do, in my opinion. Awesome track. The lyrics here fall into a lot of typical metal cliches, things, like about jumping the fire, and Phantom Lord, which seem to be about, evil, hell, stuff like that. There are some tracks that are just about metal music in general, like Metal Militia or Whiplash, just these very typical metal things like the Apocalypse and Four Horsemen, typical stuff. And that's something that, maybe you really like if you're a fan of that kind of lyrical style. But if you're a fan of, deeper lyrics, I guess you could say, maybe you're not going to like it as much as some later Metallica projects that do offer some more commentary in their lyrics, some more social awareness in their lyrics. So the lyrics here are not exactly bad, but maybe they are something that you will dislike if you don't like those more cliche metal lyrics, if that's, I guess, the best way to say it. I'd say overall, Kill 'Em All might be one of the most important Metallica albums that have been released. It's not my favorite from them by any means like that, but it's not even a favorite of many people compared to some of their albums they will release later on. However, I do feel like it is their most important, just given that it helped create the thrash metal genre, and that, how the thrash metal genre would later go on to help create some more extreme metal genres. It's just, a very influential, a very monumental album. It's a very riff-heavy album with some great solos thrown in there. The punk elements of, thrash metal are very apparent here in the production, things like that. However, the new wave of British heavy metal side of Metallica also shines through in the way that the riffs are kind of played. It's overall a great album in my opinion. Not an album that I find myself going back to as much as some of Metallica's other projects. However, I can't look at this album and say it's bad. It's just, there's no real weaknesses to it. I mean, the lyrics are something that, like I said before, are something that if you're not a fan of those metal cliches, you're not really going to like. But I can tolerate those metal cliches, and they are enjoyable. So I find this album fun, really. It might be the most enjoyable Metallica album to listen to in the sense that, it just has that kind of carefree punk, do-it-yourself feel to it. It's just really loose in that sense. Overall, I highly recommend this project. You've probably checked it out before if you're looking at this video. It's a must listen to in the metal genre. It's a must listen to in the thrash metal subgenre specifically. And, it's just a must listen to overall, I'd have to say. That sums up my opinion on Kill 'Em All pretty well, in my opinion. So thank you for watching this video. If you have anything you'd like to add or you'd like to say, your own opinion, leave it down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel. Of course, I'm going to be reviewing all of Metallica's other albums eventually, so if you enjoyed this review, you're not going to want to miss out on those reviews that are going to be coming out, sometime in the future. I know that back when I reviewed all of Mastodon's albums, the first, album review series I did those all in a month. I'm not doing that again. This isn't going to be like all of Metallica throughout May or anything like that. I'm spreading it out more. But yeah, thanks for watching. Stay golden.